Hi, everyone. So this video is going to be all about section 1.1. I am going to be completing some problems similar to what you're going to see on the homework. And I really hope that this is going to help you as you're doing your work. Okay. So one of the problems is one, we have two gears and it's connected to smaller gear. And we want to know about the ratio. So we can look at the number of teeth on gear A. And gear A is our larger gear. And we can look at, oh, that's not a very good beat. Okay, we can look at the teeth on gear B. And then we can look at the gear ratio. And that is going to be the number of teeth on gear A over the number of teeth on gear B. Okay. So if gear A has 35 teeth and gear B has 5 teeth, then what we can do is we can use our calculators and we can look at what is the ratio of 35 to 5 and put that in reduced form. So when we put that on our calculator, we should find that that's a ratio of 7 to 1. And another example, imagine that gear A has 12 teeth and gear B has 7 teeth. Well, that fraction 7 over 12 does not reduce. So ratio is simply 12 to 7. Now, in our third example, we know the number of teeth on gear B, and we know that our gear ratio is 2 to 1. So we can set up an equal proportion, and we can say that 2 over 1 is equal to our unknown over 3. And then what we want to do is cross multiply. So we multiply the 1 times x and we get 1x. And we multiply the 2 times 3 and we get 6. So that means that the number of teeth on gear A is 6. In another example, we are told that there are 21 teeth on gear A. We don't know how many there are on gear B, but we know the ratio is 3.5 to 1. So again, we can set an equivalent portion. 3.5 to 1 is equal to 21 to some unknown. And then we can cross multiply. So 3.5 x is equal to 21. We can divide both sides 3.5. And when we do that, we figure up that the number of teeth on gear B is going to be 6. And for our final example, this one, suppose the number of teeth on gear A is 15, and the ratio is 1 to 3. Well, in this case, we are going to say 1 over 3 is equal to 15 over our unknown, and we're going to cross multiply again. So 1x is equal to 45, which means that the number of teeth on gear B, oh, got ahead of myself there. Number of teeth on gear B is going to be 45. Okay. So you can use this for also looking at the ratio between the diameters of pulleys. You can also look at this when we're looking at the slope or the pitch of a roof. The pitch of a roof is rise over run. Many of you have heard that before when we're talking about the slope of a line. Well, if we think about the pitch of a roof, when we're thinking about, we have our house, right? Okay. And we have our roof. So we can think about the rise and the run. And the pitch of the roof is going to be rise over run. And that is exactly the same as when we were doing our gear ratio. So let's look at some other examples. We can think about solving ratios. And we can do this, we can either do this in one combined step, or we can do this in 2 steps. So the first one I'm going to show you is doing it in 2 steps. So we would cross multiply. So we would say the 2 times x is equal to 3 times 8. We're going to use our calculator, right? And then we're going to divide both sides by 2, and that becomes x equals 12. So if you notice, we multiplied the 2 numbers that are across from one another or diagonal from one another, the 3 and the 8. And then we divided by the third number, which is the technique that we're going to use in this next one. So this next one says some number a over 2.5 is equal to 13 over 10. So if you notice, the 2 numbers that are across from one another are 13 and 2.5. So I'm going to say 2.5 times 13 divided by 10. And you can put that whole thing in your calculator just like that, and that will give you the same answer as doing it in 2 separate steps. So we come up with A is equal to 3.25. Another example is with fractions. So many of you have calculators that will handle fractions. If you have questions on how to use your calculator, please reach out to me. Your calculator is different. So it's not helpful for me to just do one and, hey, this is how you use a calculator. It would be much more helpful to you if we meet individually and I can show you exactly how to put this in your calculator. So many calculators do have a feature where you can input mixed numbers like this. And we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to cross multiply, and then we're going to divide by this last number. Having a little difficulty using my my pen here. Sometimes that is a challenge when you are doing this. So have to give me just a minute to put this in my calculator. Because my calculator that I have, there are, it doesn't allow me to put the fractions in as easily as some calculators. When working with fractions, I actually prefer, if any of you have the TI-30XS, the calculator that I have is a TI-84, and that does make it, makes it a little bit more challenging to put all of this in. But when I put all this in my calculator, it gives me 6 1/2. The last example that I want to do is this one. No, I'm sorry, not 2 inches. It needs to be 2 feet, 6 inches, 4 feet, 3 inches. And that's equal to L over 8 feet, 6 inches. Now, when we're doing these in chapter 2, when we get to chapter 2, we are going to learn about converting our measurements and making that a little bit easier. But we can't look at this right now because we should all know that there are 12 inches in every 1 foot. Okay, so we can use a proportion then. So 6 inches is going to be what part of a foot. So again, if we do our cross multiplication, this is going to end up being 1 times 6 divided by 12, and that should give you 0.5. And we can do the same thing with 3 inches. All right, just 1 foot, put 3 inches in, cross multiply, divide, and we should get that 1 times 3 divided by 12 is going to give us 0.25. Now, when we're doing this, what's really important when we are doing proportions, if you notice, I chose to put inches at the top of the proportion. Inches needs to stay at the top. We cannot, this second fraction over here, we cannot flip that. We cannot say x over 6 inches. It does not work that way. When we are doing equivalent proportions, whatever we choose to put in the top has to remain in the top. So now that we have this, I am going to rewrite this as 2.5 feet over 4.25 feet is equal to L over 8.5 feet. And now we can do the cross multiplication and divides. So 2.5 times 8.5 divided by 4.25. And when we put that in our calculator, we get 5. Now, it's important to note that since we changed all of this to feet, our label on this is going to be feet. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to do is I want to take a look at a word problem. So I am going to make an attempt at typing out the word problem here. And I'm only going to do one word problem. Please be sure to use the Ask My Instructor feature inside of MyLab if you have questions on specific word problems or any of these problems in the homework. So this one says the compression ratio in a certain engine is 9.6 to 1 if the expended volume of a cylinder is 48 cubic inches. What is the compressed volume? All right, so let's take a look at what this is asking, the compression ratio, okay? So compression ratios in automobiles, for those of you who are in the automotive trades, you will understand this. For those of you who are not, this is going to be one of the challenges in this course, is that some of these word problems are not going to apply to what you're going to be doing in the future. And so sometimes the wording might be a little confusing to you. That's where I come in. I've been teaching this course for long enough that I can pretty much tell you where the numbers are coming from and what they need to mean. So please make sure that you reach out to me. So when we're talking about a compression ratio, okay, we are talking about expanded volume over compressed volume. That is compression ratio. So we are told that expanded volume, all right, our compression ratio is 9.6 to 1. So we're looking for the compressed ratio, or the compressed volume, when the expanded volume is 48 cubic inches. And that is going to be our length. Okay, so just like we have done before, we are going to cross multiply. So 1 times 48, and then we are going to divide by the 96. And when we put that all in our calculator, we get the compressed volume is 5 cubic inches. Please reach out to me with any questions that you have on this homework. I am here to help in any way that I can.